Hey, I'm Lorenza, founder of the Gwen Group. This is Woman Behind the Brand, spotlighting garden route founders, entrepreneurs, and women in business. This is their story. Welcome to Woman Behind the Brand, a Gwen Group interview series where we get to know the women behind the business. At Gwen, we're all about visibility, connection, and relationship-led growth. But we know that behind every business is a real woman with a story, a skill set, a mission, and a whole lot of experience that deserves to be seen. In the series, I sit down with women founders, entrepreneurs, and women in business to talk about what they do, why they do it, what they have learned along the way, and the conversations we should be having more of, often as women building businesses. Today, I am pleased to be joined by Lauren Smit. Lauren is a marketing mindset coach for female entrepreneurs. She helps women understand how their thoughts, emotions, and nervous system directly impact their marketing, their life experience, and their results, ultimately helping them create more sustainable income in a way that feels aligned, steady, and sustainable. Lauren, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to spotlight yourself and tell people a little bit more about you and your processes. So I think to start us off, tell us a little bit more about yourself and the work that you do as in the broad sense.
In the broad sense, I am Lauren Smit. I have two beautiful kids, and I fell in love with coaching after I first did graphic design. I had my own business for quite some time, about 8 years. I got a business coach in that time, and I just fell in love with mindset and coaching, and it just everything made so much more sense as to why I was struggling or couldn't put myself out there enough, or why I had imposter syndrome, all of those things. And just that support was so beautiful. And I also found that what I was enjoying more with the marketing and the branding that I was helping my clients with was the problem solving and the mindset behind it and the deeper work and the teaching and things like that. And so in 2020, I decided to pivot, and it has been amazing, a beautiful journey and growth for myself in my business, but also just helping women really with the reasons why they struggle to take action or show up or be more visible. And it's just felt so beautiful and more purposeful. So that's a little bit behind the scenes story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think on the one side, you can. I mean, I'm quite new to coaching, and I do have a coach now. But what I found interesting is that I was stuck in a YouTube spiral, and I would be researching. I'd set up plans. I'd have Excel documents and marketing plans, but I was just stuck there. I never actually implemented anything. I think that's one of the main things. So, as you say, talking to the woman inside and about being visible, and what are those things that you can't necessarily plan and have organized, right?
Yeah, and I resonate with that so much. It's like a freeze response. Like you busy and you don't have time and you're not showing up, but you actually freezing in a moment where you should be taking action, or you should be prioritizing the visibility or the connection or the networking.
Yeah.
And then you freeze because you're so busy, but you're busy with busy work that doesn't actually move the business forward. And it happens with so many women as well, just so busy but not getting to the pieces that are really the pieces that will help you move forward, right, in your business.
Mm-hmm.
So I resonate with that completely as well.
So obviously the marketing mindset coaching is super, super niche. Can you explain how kind of you put that together in a bit more detail?
Yeah, so it almost like you said now, like you have spreadsheets, or you have this new strategy, or you stuck on YouTube and they're telling you to do this thing and that thing and this thing, and it's all really strategy. And then it feels very good because you're like, oh, okay, here is something that's going to work because they say I must do this, this, and this. And so it feels very good. But then we get stuck. And then we're like, the strategy isn't working, or I'm just not doing the work, or I don't have time, or whatever. So whatever's happening as to why you're not taking those actions, that is where the mindset comes in, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's almost like there's every strategy works. It depends on the person behind it, and whether they believe that it works, and whether they have the confidence to follow through with it, or whether they feel fine if they might get rejected or have some people
Mhm.
not agree with them or whatever. All of that influences the way that we show up and we network and we market, right? And so
Yes.
it's so beautiful to see when my clients come to me and they struggle with messaging, or they struggle with getting more clients or whatever. When we work on the back end, which is the confidence or like self trust or resting without feeling guilty, or like a lot of the times we subconsciously judge our potential clients because we're a little bit frustrated because we just want them to work with us so that we can help them. And then that comes through in our content and in our marketing and the way that we show up. So that is really like, if you've tried all of the strategy and you realize, but I'm not showing up, or I don't feel like I have the time, that's where we work
Mhm.
on like feeling safe to show up and feeling
Yes.
excited to share our message, or feeling compassionate towards our clients, potential clients who might not be where you want them to be to take action, but having compassion to be like, oh, this is what's happening for them, and here's how I want to speak to them, and here's how I want them to feel, and that's how you draw them in, and then they become clients. So it's that's kind of, I hope that makes sense. That's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
how it comes together.
What came to mind was, you know, I'm actually reading this book on NLP. It's actually the NLP for Dummies version. So
So
really
cool.
starting at the basics. And one of the parts it mentioned was that, if they're not hearing what you're trying to tell them, don't increase the decibels. Like, try
Yes.
another way of approaching it. And yeah, I think a lot of people probably need a lot more of your time and patience, and to kind of figure things out. We're
Yeah.
so often stuck in one way thinking that it's so difficult to change track and to move into a better way of doing things.
Yeah, our brain is very like set on our patterns and the way that we usually do things. And that, like, sometimes it does feel hard if you don't know how to sort of get your brain going in questioning different ways. You can't see a different solution, right? We have very like either or thinking, in terms of like it's either this thing or it's that thing, and oftentimes there's multiple pathways we can go down. And yeah, so like to actually like understand how we're working and how our brain works, and then that also helps us to understand our potential clients. So like you said, we don't want to increase the decibels if they're not hearing us. We don't want to be like, stop doing this thing. We want to be
Yes.
like, hey, what am I feeling that's maybe making them feel like a little judged, or however, or like or just that they're not connecting or resonating with what we're saying. And then when you shift how you feel internally, then the other person like can receive what you're saying in such a different manner. So it's so beautiful and just
Yeah.
so interesting. It lights me up.
Well, this is why you do what you do, and yeah. So, yeah, I wanted to just talk a little bit about, okay, obviously there are many different individual situations and why people might not act, or why they might not post online, or why they might go quiet. But as a general, like from your coaching clients, what would you say is like a common thread of why women overthink, avoid posting, go quiet, don't bring out that energy into the world that can help them to succeed? What's really going on underneath that?
Yeah, I think mostly, like generally speaking, it would be that we aren't naturally as confident or think that we can. Like there's this underlying like we're not good enough. We shouldn't be doing this. Who do we think we are, like doing this thing? There's just like this subtle underlying piece that like gives us that self-doubt and that little voice in the back of our head when things just slightly don't seem to go the way that we thought it would, or expect it to go, then this little voice gets louder and louder, saying like we're not good enough. And that's why like it's also very societal and like pattern based, like how we've been brought up in terms of like not being good enough. And that's why like a lot of women struggle with imposter syndrome and feeling like a fraud, and like not feeling like we are heard or we're allowed to say these things or have these opinions or whatever. And it's very subconscious also. So, and it's also, again, this is very generalized. It's not to say that it's everyone, but when we look at the subconscious patterns and what's happening there, then we can shift that narrative, because we can find evidence that it actually isn't true that we're not heard, or it doesn't have to be true that we have to stay quiet or make ourselves small so that other people, because we're not worth being big and bold and have these beautiful businesses, right? And so generally speaking, like that's really what's happening, is we have this like belief bias, which is I'm not good enough, and then everything gets filtered through that. I actually have a reel on Instagram where I'm doing like a little diagram, and we're looking at whether like I took it for myself, like I'm good enough. So if a client says, oh, I got these results, then I'm like, oh, but it wasn't me, so it's like I'm not good enough. Or if like, whatever's happening, like it doesn't matter what happens, it's like you're doomed if you do and you're doomed if you don't. And that's what that sentence is, like I'm not good enough. And we filter, our brain biases filter through everything that we're doing through that lens. So it will be like we make this delicious cake and everyone will be like, it's so amazing, and you'll still just be like, yeah, but like the icing wasn't pink enough or whatever, like, so you're just constantly looking at it in that way. So that's generally what happened. And so the louder that voice becomes, like I'm not good enough, then you get confused. I don't know what to say anymore on social media, because nothing I say is good enough, or nothing I say is going to get the results that I'm looking for. And then we end up ghosting, or like the day goes by, we have we have life happening, and then we stop posting, and then the next day, and we're like, I have to post. And then it comes from the place of urgency. So then sometimes when we do post, it's again not that piece where people feel connected, right? It's from that like
Yes,
urgency,
100%.
like I just have to do this, right? And so that's really like when we can truly find like I am worthy, I am good enough, and find evidence, because it's an active like work. We have to actively find evidence that we're good enough. Like, look at how I'm taking care of the kids. Look at how I'm managing all of the things that I have to do. Look at how far I've come. I'm running a business. I'm doing like superhuman stuff here, running a business, right? It's like
Well,
taking all of it. So that's really what's happening.
I have to I have to say that I can completely resonate with this. And with regards to I run the Gwen events, and I mean 100 to 120 women come. There's amazing keynotes and harvest tables and expo tables, and like it's just really quite an amazing day. Not everyone feels that way, of course, but I'd say the majority does. But the day after the event, I'm just like, oh well, that didn't happen, and I just move on with my life. There's no like pause to say, wow, hey, what you did. And so, looking,
Yeah, so
you were
true.
mentioning like looking for these like proof points of why I could be worthy are just completely negated, and I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah, yes. And we do that. And that's
Yeah.
how we self sabotage, because we don't actually settle and celebrate what we
Yeah.
have achieved, because that's amazing. Like a huge event with these harvest tables and like all of these women that you're gathering. That's such important work to help us women business owners like be more visible and like be successful. Like I think your work is so amazing, right? And so we don't stop and celebrate. We're just like going on to the next thing, going on to the next thing, and just waiting for like, what do they call it, like the shoe to drop or something, like something to just like not work out or whatever, instead of like expecting things to go good. And that also like
Yeah.
takes some
Yes.
practice. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So, Lauren, just tell me. You mentioned the nervous system quite a lot. Can you
Yeah.
tell me how this all fits into the mindset and the marketing and all of that?
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, what's happening is when we have a thought, it creates an emotion, and that emotion is felt in our body, right? And so from the way that we feel, we are taking action. So again, like if we have a thought that says, oh, I don't even know what to say anymore because nothing's working in my social media, then that makes us feel a certain way. So it might be like defeated or just disappointed and sad. And then from that, we're like, well, I don't have time anyway, or that's another thought, but then we don't take action and we don't post. And then the results that we get from that is not getting clients or not getting any results. And so that is the nervous system that we're looking at. We're looking at what are you feeling that's making you not take action or take action, and how can we shift the way that you feel in your body and with the thoughts that you're thinking so that you can feel empowered to take action, so that you can, like, again, find the evidence. Because when you look at, for example, your Gwen events and you're like, wow, that was like huge, and there were so many people, and this was the keynote speaker, and everyone said how great that was. Or even if one person was like, the keynote speaker was amazing, like you take that and you really feel into what that feels like. And then from that place, you're like, what would I want to say so that I can get more people at this event, for example, right? And from that feeling, you're actually shifting your nervous system in how you're taking action. And the more we shift our nervous system, the more we find safety in, like, I am safe to be visible, I am safe to run a business. The more we create safety in our nervous system, which is like a grounded, calming feeling. It's also not like ecstatic. It can be exciting, but the more grounded and calm you are, the more your nervous system feels safe and you feel more confident and calm. And from that place, people also notice how you show up and how you connect with them. And so that's kind
Yeah.
of like the basics of it.
Yeah, no, I was just curious to know if you, for example, if you were to sit down and write a piece of content or record something, obviously aside from the planning and all of that side of things, do you kind of do like a bit of a ceremony, or do you have a bit of a pre-reel like exercise, or do you simply just think of something positive and amazing that you've done or feedback that you received and then kind of channel into that to then create something? Or what's your system when you sit down to create something?
Yes. So I have a system that I teach my clients, and I have to admit I'm not always as good to like follow the little like prompts, but when I'm really feeling like I need to connect more to my potential clients, then I will do this as well. So basically what you are doing is when you're creating content, especially if you feel frantic to create content and you're like, I haven't posted in a week and I need to post or whatever, is to first sit down and just to like brain dump everything that's happening in your mind. So you just like everything that's coming up for you, you just like put it down on paper, whether that's to-do list or kids like interrupting or like whatever's happening, you just like dump it down and you tell yourself like, I'm going to get to that. I have 20 minutes, I have an hour right now to create content. I'm going to get to that as soon as I've done with my content creation. And then you want to look at like, do I have any judgments about myself right now that's coming up? For example, like I haven't posted, so there's something wrong with me and people won't take me seriously or whatever comes up in that regard. And you just say like, is that true? Like you just really look at that judgment, and it's probably not true when you have that judgment towards yourself. And you also look at judgment towards your people. Like if you're frustrated that they're not buying from you, like what can you be thinking about them instead? A lot of time if we think about a specific person and we think of like, why is that person not taking action right now in buying, then you have compassion for them because you actually know what's going on in their life. And so then you can say like, okay, I have judgment because they're doing this one thing and it's not getting them the results and they just need to work with me. And like then you can ask yourself like, how can you release that judgment? How can you have compassion for where they are right now? Maybe they just don't know how to get out of the pattern that they're in right now or whatever. And then you want to sit down and ask like, how do you want the people that's going to read your content or listen to your live, how do you want them to feel right now with what you're about to share with them, right? And it's like, maybe I want to make them feel heard. I want them to feel seen. I want them to feel like I can help them and there's a solution, and that they don't have to suffer as long as they are, or whatever's happening. And then from that place, you're like, okay, what can I share? And sometimes even if we struggle to think of what we can share, you can just like look at some of the basic like pillars or whatever that you will share. So for me, it would be maybe like confidence, or visibility and rejection, and resting without feeling guilty, or like messaging. And then I'd look like, and then I'd take it from there and really just think in that way. So you can do it the long way, but you can also just really like feel into it and be like, how do I want to feel, and how do I want my people to feel? And sometimes you can just access it like that as
I
well.
think that,
So that's
yeah,
why,
that's
yeah.
almost to sum it up, is kind of to get like in a form of empathy, or in a form of being in someone else's shoes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, exactly.
okay. So another thing I wanted to ask. Firstly, thank you for that. Thank you
It's a
for that like
pleasure.
little mini framework. Yeah, because my technique so far has been to do the power move to get the energy
Oh,
going, and
that's
then
so
but
good.
sometimes
I love that also if it
I
works.
love a good power move.
That's so good.
Okay, so let's just say there's an example, and just kind of very, very briefly, but if there's an example of a woman who is feeling really stuck or really, really resistant, but she does want to start marketing herself, but she's like, well, maybe she's got some thoughts about it, like, oh, this is a waste of time, or I could be doing something better, or she's just resistant to communicating. Well, what is one small place that she can start to just get that first piece out, or get
Yeah.
that second piece out, and start getting some momentum? What's one thing she can do?
Well, the first thing is, if she's feeling like really anxious about putting something out there, then she can first start to like journal on like why she feels that way, and then also look at like how will she be okay with taking this step. So sometimes you just need to like create safety first, within yourself and in your environment, without actually taking the action, because sometimes we feel so distressed with like thinking about taking the action that we can't get ourselves to take it. So if we just like imagine taking the action, and imagine how we will be okay, and how we'll figure it out, and if it doesn't work, what we will do, and if somebody doesn't agree with us, how we'll be okay, or whatever, like how you still agree with yourself, that can be like a first step. And then the other thing is like to create desire, right? Like, why do you desire to put yourself out there and to make this business a success? Like, you really need to have a strong desire that you continuously like thinking of, but not only just thinking of, you like bringing up what creating that would feel like. And that's the difference, because the more we can shift into like, I have this desire to show my daughter what it looks like to create a successful business and be independent, and like, and then like feel into what that feels like, versus just going, oh yes, it's nice to think of that desire, but it doesn't actually feel true, right? So creating desire for the thing that we want to do. Sometimes it's also like, I want the successful business, but I don't want to market it. And because, like it doesn't feel fun and whatever, to be like, to create the desire to do the thing that we know is needed to get what we want, even though we don't want to do it, and like what that will get us. So, like practicing to feel into that. So, if that makes sense, like, does that
Yeah,
help
yeah,
you?
I think so. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
yeah, so just one last question for today's amazing session. What do you wish more women understood about marketing themselves? What do you want them to know?
That the more you like get to know yourself, and the more you are yourself and have compassion for yourself and love for yourself and feel worthy, the more you can just naturally put yourself out there, have more inspiration to put content out there, the more marketing doesn't feel as heavy and as difficult, because we're fighting against like being visible and what people will say about us, and like all of those things, which is outside of ourselves. But when we are just like, I love what I'm doing, I have my own back if I'm failing. Doesn't matter what people are saying. I think this is what, like, this is my purpose. This is what I want to be doing. Like, that is how you show up, right? Because the more you love yourself and you're like, it's okay if this doesn't work out, because I'm not going to be hard on myself. Other people might have been like, I told you so, but I'm going to be
Mhm.
okay. And you can find safety in that. The more we can do that work, I think it's just going to be beautiful for you and for everyone around you, like for your kids and for the world. And it's just going to be really, really beautiful. So that's what I wish everyone knew.
Oh, thank you. That was a beautiful ending for today's
Thank you.
chat. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today. I really love the conversation, especially the reminder that marketing is not just about what we post or what we say, but how safe we feel, and yeah, how that confidence can come from within and just be taken out into the world.
Thank you. I've loved this conversation. It's been so fun.
Okay, and for anyone watching or listening, please go and connect with Lauren through her Gwen Go Collective profile, which you can find at www.thegwengroup.co.za. And if you are a woman founder, entrepreneur, or woman in business, make sure you stay connected with us and follow along for some amazing conversations with other females in South Africa. Thanks a lot.